Hey guys, so today I'm so excited for this video. If you guys don't already know, I have a series on my channel called The Real, and then I interview YouTubers about their life behind the camera, and it is my favourite thing ever, not only because I feel like this helps so many of you guys out. Reading your feedback from the last interview that I did with Flossie, which if you guys haven't already watched, by the way, I'll leave the link down below and you can also click the I right now. Reading the comments on that was so rewarding. I literally just felt like this is just why I love doing this series so much, because you guys were saying how you can relate and how it was so refreshing to see a YouTuber talk about their struggles, because I think a lot of the time you can kind of think that because YouTubers share their highlights and they share the best bits, that their life is perfect, when in reality everyone has things that's going on behind closed doors and everyone has struggles. This is actually episode 4 of the series. I've interviewed Yaz, Spencer, Flossie, and then today I'm going to be talking to Imogen, who you guys might know as Imagination. She does YouTube and Instagram and all of that. And she's honestly the biggest angel ever. Like, she's the sweetest person. I think we've met once before. We were at an event before, and honestly, you know when someone just radiates like positive, oh my gosh, Imogen is so nice, and you guys are gonna see this in a second because I'm about to FaceTime her and talk about loads of different things that she's been through. And yeah, I'm gonna say this probably like 10 times, but I appreciate her coming on this so much because it isn't easy to talk about things you've been through. And yeah, I'm just so excited to hear what she has to say, and I hope you guys are excited too. So if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure to give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and turn on post notifications by clicking the bell. And also, don't forget to check out my Instagram and my TikTok, and also check out Imogen's socials. I'll leave everything down below. And also, comment down below who you want me to interview next, because I have been reading through all your suggestions and taking note of them. So if you guys want me to interview someone, let me know and I will DM them. I will DM them, and they might not reply, but if they do, then I'll interview them. But yeah, sorry, I literally just rambled on, so I think now we should call Imogen and chat to her. So I'm with Imogen now.
Yay! Hi!
And I just firstly want to say thank you so much for coming on here today. I appreciate it so much, and I feel like everyone watching it is going to appreciate it too. I was stalking like all of your storytime videos and reading the comments.
Oh my god, poor you, having to watch them.
No! I watched hours of your storytime videos, literally. No, I love them.
Thank you for inviting me on here. I've watched all of the other ones and I was like, I think they help so many people that feel like you're alone in things, and I feel like some people look at people on like social media and stuff and feel like they don't go through that. So I feel like what you're doing is so good to help people. So yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, not only is this so good for people to like relate, but also to see that actually YouTubers' lives aren't perfect and we go through it too. Just like every other person, everyone is going through things behind closed doors. So I think this is going to be really interesting, and I'm so interested to hear what you have to say, because even though I've watched hours of your...
Oh my god, I'm going to try and not speak so much.
Speak as much as you want. I'm so interested to hear everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we should get straight into it. So I always like to start from the beginning to kind of... I think hearing experiences from when you were younger helps to kind of understand and see like whether or not they can, if they've like translated later on into your life, because obviously when you're younger, what you go through really changes you as a person. And to kind of start off, how would you describe your younger self?
So I would describe my younger self as extremely anxious. Like, my whole family, we are all the same. I think it stems from my parents' childhood, so I speak really openly about this and they're very open about it as well. But my mum and dad were both fostered, so they both had very, I mean, extremely bad childhoods. So when they had me and my older brother, they were so anxious that they would give us a bad childhood, so they wanted to give us the best childhood they possibly can, but they didn't have parents around them helping us, so we didn't have grandparents around when we were younger. And I feel like my parents, it's not their fault, but because they were so anxious, me and my older brother definitely picked up on that, and my younger brother's the same as well. We're all just the same. But I think that because they overly worried that things would happen to us, because they were so extremely blessed that they'd had children, they never thought that they'd find each other and never thought they had kids. So when they had us, they were like, oh my god, we've got children, we want to make sure that they're in a bubble. So they wrapped us in these bubbles of like, never go, like we were just very mollycoddled in a nice way, not like a spoilt way, but our parents just really cared about us. So I think that growing up, I was just an anxious worrier all the time. Like I would lose sleep when I was younger. I remember actually it came up recently during lockdown because I stopped sleeping during lockdown. Like my sleep pattern had gone so bad, and I remember actually it flashed back to me when I was like 7, and my parents took me to doctors, and I live right by where I went to the doctors, and the doctor was like, I was struggling with sleep then when I was 7, and the doctor was like, what do you think it is? And I was like, I'm worrying about school, I'm worrying about my test. And my mum was like, the test is in 2 weeks and it's a spelling test. Like, and that's how worried I always was. If I had a ballet exam, I would lose sleep. And if I had homework, like, it would be done the day of if I had it for like 2 weeks. So I think growing up, I would describe myself as really anxious and very insecure. Very, very insecure. Like, I talk about this openly as well, but I used to think that everyone was staring at me when no one was. Like, I genuinely used to walk to the shops and feel like, oh my God, they're looking at me, they think I'm ugly, they think I'm fat. Like, this is actually what would go through my head when I was young. And I used to have someone with me all the time. I used to have a friend with me to go to the shops or just to go anywhere. And it was just, I look back now and think that's why I was the way I was now. Like, that's the way I am now. I'm anxious, but I'm a lot more chilled than I ever was. But I feel like your younger self, you're so right. Like, it really does affect who you are as a person when you grow up.
That's interesting that you say that your parents were anxious, because I feel like when you're a child, you mirror what your parents are like. Like, I noticed so many traits that I'm like, got that from my mum, got that from my dad. So that's really interesting that you say that. But how would you describe, in general, like, how would you give a picture of what life was like for you when you were younger? So let's start with school. How was school for you?
So when I was young, school was fine. I actually really liked school. I loved learning. I was lucky enough to go to some nice schools. But I actually got really ill when I was in year 2. So I actually had to come out of I went to a private school in Brighton, and I had to actually leave the private school because they wouldn't accept that I wasn't very well and I wasn't going to school enough, because I was off school for I actually missed the whole of year 2. So I was literally in for year 2 for like 2 weeks. So I ended up missing the whole of year 2. So my dad actually home tutored me for year 3 and year 2 because I was really ill. And then in year 4 was when I went to another school, and that was fine. It was when I went to year 7 that for me school life changed, and that's when I really started to struggle. I didn't go to the school that everyone else went to. So everyone else went from year 6 to the main school that they would go to, but the school I went to, it started in year 4 to year 8. So I was joining a brand new school. But when I was younger, I should probably say, even though I was insecure and anxious, I was really loud and extrovert. I've always been like that. Like, if you met my family, you'd understand. Like, my dad's so loud, my mum's so loud, so I'm just basically like a join of the both of them. But I think people think when you're confident and loud that you are confident, but you're not. You're just loud sometimes. Like, you're just trying to sort of hide the facade of feeling shy. But yeah, so I was definitely quite an extrovert kid, so I was happy to go to a new school because I was like, I'm gonna be the new girl. Like, I was really like that. That's me being honest. I was so excited to make new friends and meet new people and, you know, check out the new boys at school, like, kind of thing like that. But then in year 7, like halfway through year 7, that's when it started to change. I went to a school that was very competitive, like very competitive. If you had the most money, you were the most popular kind of thing, and they had like a regime. And I know this sounds really strange to say, but if you knew the school then it would make sense. But if you were the front runner of like netball, hockey, sport, any sport, you were always going to be the front runner. So anyone new coming in, you're not allowed to be any good at anything because they already had their set people. Like, they're 4 girls that were the sporty girls, the 4 girls that were the dancers, or something like that. So when I joined the school, it was all fun and games at the beginning, but my parents weren't wealthy. Like, I know I say this a lot and people are like, but you went to private school. My parents worked really hard, but I had hand-me-down clothes, I had charity shop clothes. Like, my parents knew where to save money because they wanted to give us a good education. So we had nice holidays, you know, once a year or maybe twice a year, once in France and once like another big holiday. But my parents scrimped and saved like Our food was really good because my dad was a chef, so he would make it cheap and make it affordable but still nice food. So I think that I went to a school where I had a scholarship. I had a scholarship to be able to go there. So we were never going to be the richest, and it shouldn't affect who you are as a person based on what your parents earn or what they do. But the school had kind of like a hierarchy, and basically it all started actually after sports day. And I didn't go to the like the preliminary or whatever it is, like you get put in your track field, so you do like a time trial and see where you're going to be. And in my time trial I wasn't there, so they'd said they thought I was fast anyway because I was on some of the teams, so they put me in like the first race. It was like 6 or 7 people on the track, and they'd like hire out Brighton team's football stadium for our sports day. Like it was that big a deal. Like they'd hire the football stadium out so people could come and watch. Like anyway, so then I ended up coming first in my 100 metres. Never thought that would happen because the girls were so quick and amazing. And I remember the girl, because they were so pushed by their parents, not all of them, but some of them, and it wasn't their fault, but the girl that lost, she actually collapsed on the line and she was crying, hyperventilating, and her mum and dad came down. And that was when my parents started to notice a shift in the parents to my mum. Like my mum was like, oh, congratulations to her, like she did so well. And they were like, she did rubbish, shouting at her. And I was like, this isn't going to be good for me at school. So then the 200 metres came, and I don't know how, but I won that one. And then I remember I went to school the next day, and the school actually changed my scholarship to like an all-rounder. So I got put on sports teams, and then I got made captain of a team. And that's when I knew I'm going to have no mates, I'm going to have no friends here, because I'm changing what's normal. And I was only at that school for like a year and a half before the doctor actually signed me off, because I was so skinny, I was ill, I was not eating, I wasn't sleeping, and the doctor actually said to my parents, I'm going to actually have to write her off this school because she can't physically go there because she's ill. I was very ill, like completely depressed, just because of the constant bullying, which was just every single day. Like it was just, my parents had to walk me into classes because I would just either get hit or spat on, or stuff would get weed on in the thing, like my clothes would get taken, like my earrings. I remember I got my ears pierced and I was so excited. They would steal things like that. It was just every day was just horrendous. And yeah, so I ended up having to be home tutored half of year 8 because obviously I wasn't at school because I got pulled out.
Did you go to anyone about that? Obviously you went to your parents, but did you tell anyone at the school? Like how did the school respond? Because that's awful.
My dad actually knew I wasn't sleeping. This was in the start of year 8, and he ended up sleeping on a blow-up bed in my room, and because they were worrying about me, and I sleep talk really random stuff. And my dad said one night, I probably was awake, but we were having like a conscious chat, but not really conscious kind of thing. My dad was just asking me questions mid-sleep kind of thing, and I was just opening up to him, and that's when they were like, okay, this is really bad. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's like, it's in year 8, but I still remember it. Like, I'm a lot older than I was in year 8, and I still remember it. Like, it was trolling, but I knew the people. So it's like, you don't know who's trolling you, but I knew these people. I had to face them every day. Like, they would make all of their MSN names like, We Hate Imogen. They'd make my face into like a devil. And like, even the people that really did actually like me were so scared of the bullies that they ended up being like, I can't be your friend because I'm being associated with you.
That's the thing though, because everyone always says when you're a bystander you're just as bad as the bullies, and it's like you feel bad because I've kind of seen, because bullies at my school, I've seen it, and it is really hard to stand up to them, but at the same time if you're watching it and not doing anything, that's just as bad.
Yeah, and but then I know I get it on both sides, because I think on my side I had no friends, and the friends that I did have neglected me because of the fact they were scared. But then I also look at it in their eyes and I'm like, God, you must have been really scared because you wouldn't have wanted to go through what I went through. But it's just so hard to be that person that stands up to people that they're scared of, kind of thing. So I spoke to my parents about it, and then they wanted to go to the school, but I was like, it'll get worse if you go to the school, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, oh no, don't go to school, etc. But my parents are really not involved, but they just are really emotional people like me. So they get really upset for other people and feel really deeply. So everything I was going through, my mum said now, my mum was like, it's so hard to have watched the person you made, the person you love more than anything in this world, literally go through so much pain and you can't do anything about it. So obviously they tried to fight the school, but unfortunately the parents of the children that were bullying me were on the school faculty, they were on the boards, and it was like, I had no hope. When I was in year 7, I had a bit more hope because the year 8 girls I was really close with, because I knew them from when I was in year 2, year one. At my first school, I knew a lot of the girls that went to my old school. So they were like looking after me, and I was all right in year 7. I was quite cool because I knew the older girls. And then in year 8, they leave to the main school. Well, see you later, because I had no one
So
there.
you had them before, and then after that, did you have literally no one?
Yeah. It went from no one, yeah. It went from like me jumping to like different groups because that group started to not like me, and then I was like, oh god, I'll go to this group. And then that group would form with that group, and it was like, I don't know, I look back now, I couldn't even tell you why. I couldn't even tell you why they didn't like me. Maybe I was too loud, maybe I was too extrovert, but I didn't do anything ever horrible to them, ever in my life, that they would warrant bullying me. I don't know what it was. My mum and dad obviously say it's jealousy, but that's what parents say. But you just don't know. You can't get in their heads. But my parents ended up fighting the school because basically at a private school, you have to pay money for the terms that you're not there, because you have to give like, it's like a flat. You have to give like notice. So you have to give a whole term's notice before you leave. So they ended up trying to fight us for money for the terms I wasn't there. And my parents were like, I'm not paying this much money when my daughter's being bullied. So we ended up having to go to the senior school, because they had a senior school, and the senior school actually ended up fighting our battle against the prep school, which was amazing and helpful. But we had to take like the mayor of Brighton to help us. Like they had to go to court to prove that I was bullied, because they denied it and denied it and denied it. Like they would see it, they would see bruises on me, they would see, you know, everything they would see. We had pages and books of all the stuff they were sending me on MSN, on Bebo, everything, of all the things. You know, they'd cut my hair in class, they'd put chewing gum in my hair. Like boys were getting involved, because one girl in my year had a twin brother in my year, obviously. So then she got him involved, and it was like, it was just hell. So yeah, so then, I know this sounds really crazy, my parents fought and fought and fought and put themselves through so much just to prove that I was bullied. And they don't regret that, because they're like, we wanted to hear it from their mouths that we weren't going crazy, like our daughter wasn't the problem. And when they eventually said, okay, we admit that she was bullied, and they didn't make us pay for the year, that was like, I know that sounds really crazy, but that was like my closure. I was like, all right, like that bullying didn't affect me going into my next school. I obviously had like 6 months or 7 months off anyway, and my parents, my dad, he home tutored me and stuff. But when I went to my next school was a dream. My next school was a dream. Like year 9 to year 11, dreamiest years. Like I loved that school so much, and it was like an hour out of Brighton, so I didn't know anyone, and I made loads of friends there, and my best friend now has been my best friend since then. So I got an amazing person out of that school, and I loved that school. But yeah, I think I was really affected in year 8 from bullying, and maybe I'm still affected to this day. I think maybe, I don't know if you ever, I don't think you ever get over
I think
that.
it would stick with you even if you feel like it hasn't, and especially if you were saying you were an anxious child and you didn't like going places by yourself. Like the fact that you were bullied was sure like to affect that in some way, because if you're being bullied, everyone's staring at you, everyone's, all the attention's on you because they're picking on you. So
and then you start to think that you're a problem, because and I think you own that, and I think I've owned that my whole life, maybe up until now, you know, up until lockdown, which we can go into maybe later, but up until lockdown I feel like I've owned that my whole life. Like I always am like, oh, it's almost like I talk myself into losing people. I'm like, well, they're gonna not like me soon because that's what happens, you know? And I think that I've actually caused friendships to break down because of maybe my insecurities. I would never tell them that and be like, you're not gonna like me soon kind of thing, but I think subconsciously I've pushed people away, not everyone, but I feel like I've also attracted negative people in my life because of that.
It's kind of like self-destructive, because people are telling you, if you have so many people ganging up against you, you kind of start to believe like, what, like surely there's even though there's absolutely no reason, especially when you're younger, you start to think maybe there is. But that's the thing, did you have any relationships, as in like with like love relationships when you were younger?
I had like, no, probably I was quite a slow bloomer, not a slow bloomer, but my parents were quite strict growing up, so like all my friends could like go to the park and my parents were like, you can't, because we think there's gonna be someone that will snatch you. Like, my parents were warriors, so I didn't really grow up that quick. Like, when my friends had kissed someone, like I hadn't. But when I went to my last school, I had a boyfriend there, and he was just a bad boy. Like, he was just a bad boy. Like, he ended up getting expelled from the school, but he had things that he went through, so you know, you can't judge anyone because you just don't know what they go through. And he actually had a really big loss in his life, so it sort of probably sent him off the rails and, you know, things like that. But I had him for like a year, and then I remember my parents got called into the school because they were like, we're worried about Imogen dating this boy, like she shouldn't be dating him. And my mum and dad were like, you're not dating him anymore. But then we did secretly, so it's fine. But then he got expelled, so it was like, see you later. And then when I went, so I was about 14, 15 when I started going out with a boy that was a lot older than me. He was a lot older than me, and I lied about my age at the very beginning. He was like 5 years older than me, and my parents didn't know for a long time, and this was during my parents' breakup. So my parents ended up, the divorce started when I was 13, so things started getting bad when I was 13. So me meeting this guy, I really had daddy issues really badly, like really badly. Like, my relationship with my dad now is amazing, but when I was younger, because of his childhood, he like struggled to show me emotion that much. Like, he told me he loved me, but he didn't ever show me any emotion. Like, I only saw him cry once when my little brother was born. So it was like, I obviously craved a man's affection, and that's why I definitely went for an older guy, 100%, because my mum and dad were breaking up. I was just slipping under the radar. My brother was older, he could go off, and he was at college and stuff like that. So, and my parents' divorce went on for a really long time. It went on till like, it went on for like 5 or 6 years, like getting back together. Things then happened, so I think I was really affected from that. So going out with an older guy was, again, just probably my way of like rebelling. And when my dad found out, he was like, no chance. But they were going through so much, my parents at the time, that I could sneak him in the house, and you know, they didn't know, because my mum wasn't living there and my dad was not in a good place at all. So I could just say, oh, my friend's gonna come round, do you want us to stay downstairs? Because my dad's on like different floors. So it's like a thin house, so it's like different floors, so he could be downstairs and my room is on the 3rd floor. So I could sort of just sneak him in, and that relationship for me was like so toxic. Probably on my half as well. Well, no, definitely on my half as well, because I was so insecure. Oh my gosh, I was so insecure. I literally, like, he was older than me, he could go out clubbing and do all these things, and I could go out clubbing because I used fake ID, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone, so just don't do that. Like, enjoy your life. But yeah, I went out so young and did so many things so young, but I would like worry so much he was going to cheat on me. And I'd never really properly been cheated on, because this was like my first solid relationship, but I wasn't great in that relationship, and that's me being completely honest. But one thing I didn't actually say is that he had a child. So it was like, he was older than me with a child, but also with an ex-girlfriend who was very newly an ex. Like, for my ex-boyfriend, he did say that their relationship was done and finished a long time ago, but he stayed put because...
Was that the mum of the child?
Yes. So it was, I should never have got involved. But then I don't regret anything, because I think your life just goes on a path, and I'd never have met Spencer if I didn't do all those things. So I don't regret anything ever. But I look back now and I see more on her perspective. Like, I look at through her eyes and think how awful that must have been, even if their relationship was dead. Even if their relationship was dead, you know, a younger girl coming into the mix when they've got a child, and I can't imagine it. So I think as you get older, you start to look back at things you've made mistakes or just decisions you made, and you look back and you're like, okay, now I see it from your perspective.
How did she react at the time?
She was not happy at all, like hated me, absolutely hated me. Would come to where I worked, because he worked there when I was like 16, and I'd go work there throughout the summer, and she would come there and I'd have to like hide in the manager's office because she'd come, and she was a lot more aggressive than me. I was such a scaredy cat, like I would never want to fight anyone, but she just had a lot more of that in her than me, and she ended up beating me up actually when I was 16 in a club. But my parents wanted me to press charges, but obviously I didn't want to, because that was the mother of my boyfriend's child. So I didn't want to press charges, but also I didn't want to press charges because I was in a club. I used someone's ID, so I was, you know, impersonating someone, so I just didn't want to, you know, whatever. So then he ended up getting back with her because he was like, Imogen, she's stopping me from seeing my child. I need to get back with her. So I was like, yeah, fine, not fine. Felt like I loved him, was heartbroken at the time. But I know this sounds bad, but I look back now and think it wasn't love. It was sort of, this is gonna sound really crazy, but I feel like it was more of a competition in a way. I felt like I always was fighting her for him. And I felt like our relationship only lasted that length of time because I was like, if we break up, he's gonna go back to her. And it was constantly that thing. So then he got back with her and I didn't see him for ages, even though he literally lived at the end of my road. I didn't see him for like a year or something, like properly. And then I saw him, and then I saw him one night and he was like, I've split up with her, and then we got back together. But it was just a constant battle. Like, he had to go to court to fight for his kid because he was with me, and you know, it just must have been so stressful for both of them as well as me. And it was just toxic. It was really toxic, and it was just not, I mean, you can't write it, can you? Like, my parents were going through this divorce and like fighting for my little brother and like fighting for custody there, and there's me like getting in the amongst of this ongoing battle. It was like history was repeating itself, and I was like, oh no. Like, but at the time I was so young. Like, you think you know the world when you're 16, 17, 14, 15. You think you do, but you don't. So I think that relationship definitely changed me because it made me hate Brighton. I hated Brighton so much because this girl was so scary. Like, she ended up beating me up a second time as well, at a club, but we weren't together at this time. Me and him weren't together, so I did actually call the police, and they went around and had a chat with her, but I didn't want to do anything else further with it. Sorry if this is really dramatic. I mean, everyone's probably watching this like, jeez, this girl. Then I ended up hating Brighton, like I said, because I had this name for myself in Brighton. Everyone was like, oh, like, you wrecked that family, even though I didn't. He never cheated on her with me. He never left her for me. It was never that. But people assumed that because I was the next person after them being together. So I just felt like everyone in Brighton hated me, even though they didn't. Like, no one cared, probably. No one really cared. And I had some friends in Brighton, and I met my next boyfriend through them. And then my next boyfriend was a footballer, and he ended up moving away really early on in our relationship. He ended up moving to Wales, and I ended up moving to Wales because why not? Yeah, so I have skipped so many bits out of the story because it's probably going to just go on for hours, but I lived with my first boyfriend. I moved out 17. My auntie gave us a flat that was really affordable rent because she had quite a few properties in Brighton. She gave us a flat because I didn't move in with him necessarily because we were like, oh my god, we love each other so much. I felt like that at the time, but my family situation was really bad.
Do you mean in terms of the divorce? Was that?
Yes, and in terms of my dad had now got a new girlfriend who, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he knows this anyway. She really didn't like another woman in his life, so she didn't like me. She didn't mind my brother, but she didn't like me. I remember she popped a bottle of champagne open when I moved out in front of me. As in like, see you later, and I was like, oh my god. But I was living in the lounge with my older brother as well. And we were living in the lounge, and my dad would want the lounge to be back to the lounge at 7 o'clock in the morning. So my living situation wasn't great. So moving out was like me and my dad didn't have a good relationship. Me and my mum didn't have a good relationship because she'd left and she now had a baby on the way with her new boyfriend. So it was just, it was really bad. It was a really bad time. So I moved out, moved in with him. And then when I moved back from that, I then ended up sleeping on the floor on a blow up bed, and my older brother would sleep on the sofa. So I moved back to that. So when my next boyfriend moved to Wales, it was like, okay, I'll move with you. He wanted me to move with him. You know, it was sort of like I fast forwarded every relationship from my first, because I'd already lived with someone so young. So I was like, I've already lived with someone, I can live with someone again. So then I ended up moving to Wales for a bit before I went to uni. So what I forgot to mention is as well, so many bits, it's so hard to remember all these things. When I do story times, I have to write things out because I just forget so much. So I got into a university in London, which was a stage school, and I was so excited because I wanted to do dancing, singing and acting. I was so buzzing to go to this amazing place. But I was also torn between being with my boyfriend, who at the time I loved so much, and blah, blah, blah. This was my first boyfriend. So I was commuting every day, getting the 5 o'clock, waking up at 5, getting the 5:30 train to London, because the stage school is really intense. It's like 8 o'clock you have to register and you finish at like 6. And then you have to do your degree work in the evening because it's so much practical. So I was wearing myself into the ground. So I got really, I wasn't very well. I actually ended up staying in hospital for a night because I was passing out, kept passing out. And they thought it was low blood sugar and stuff like that. But they literally just said it's from me commuting. My body couldn't take it. I was so young, commuting so much and doing so much work. Like I would go to bed at like 11 o'clock at night from doing my work, then wake up at 5. I'd sleep in my leotard and my tights so I could get up and just, you know, be ready. And then I ended up actually saying to university, can I have a year to defer? So I'd done my first term, I'd banked that, I'd got a first and I banked it. So then they said, okay, you can come back the next year, the next term, so you'll join late. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And in my head, I was giving it up for him. I was going to give up my university for him. In my head, I was just saying to them I was going to defer.
Is the second one in Wales?
No, this is the first one. So then I'd given it up and I was like, fine, whatever. And then when I was with my second boyfriend, I'd already told the university I'd given it up. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to actually go to university. I need a life for myself. Like I need to create, you know, me and my first boyfriend had broken up. So then me and my second boyfriend, he was really, really good in that sense. He wanted me to have a career. He wanted me to go to university and he wanted to push me, which my first boyfriend did as well. But I just get lost in relationships sometimes and I'm like, I'll do anything for you, but it's not good at all. So then I ended up going back to university. So I lived in Wales for however long, like 8 months, 9 months, and then went back to university and I got a London flat. And that's when I moved to London. However, I had to go back every weekend to Wales to see him because of his job. So I would either travel up on the train to wherever his football match was, or I travelled to Wales if he had a home game. So, and that was just silly because it's like, it was only like a 2.5 hour journey from London, but it was quite hard after doing, because it's not like normal university. So I ended up commuting to see him and that was just not working either. And then we ended up breaking up, which was a blessing in disguise in a way. At the time I didn't see it because I was so dependent on him financially. That's me being honest. He didn't like me working, so I had a job at Hollister sometimes, especially through the months I was living with him where I didn't have uni. I got a job because I was like, I need to pay my way. And he was like, it's embarrassing at football, people are teasing me that you've got a job at like Hollister, blah blah. So he ended up not taking me in, and I didn't drive at the time. We lived about half an hour from the city centre. There was no train line near us. I had to get a taxi to a train, get the train in. So it ended up costing me like 3 hours wages of Hollister just to get into work for a 5-hour shift. So it's like, it was pointless. So he ended up not taking me in, so then I ended up just quitting that job because he wouldn't physically drive me because he didn't want me to work. So he was my financial stability. He paid for everything for me, and I've never been in that situation because my mum's always been really career driven, my dad's always been career driven as well. So for me, I was always career driven. I always had 2 or 3 jobs. Never had one. Like if I worked at a call centre, I also worked at another retail shop. Like I've worked at H&M, New Look, Hollister, Primark. I've worked at all of them, I feel like, and I always just wanted to earn money. I was always driven by making sure I had my own thing, because my first boyfriend was not career driven and I was his financial security, even though I was a lot younger. So going into the next relationship, at the beginning I loved it, because I was like, this boy wants to spoil me. You know, my first boyfriend, for my 18th birthday, he bought me a kebab, but it was with my bank card. Like, it wasn't, you know, we never had that relationship. If we went out for dinner, I would buy dinner. Like, it was never, and it's not about that, because it's not about who has more money, it's not about that, but I had never ever felt like he ever treated me with anything. He'd never even bought me like my favourite chocolate bar I liked. And this second boyfriend, when he came into my life, oh my lord, he was just spoiling me left, right and centre. And at the beginning I was like trying to like not be that person that's so materialistic, but I grew up not having a lot. Yes, I went to nice schools, but we didn't have a lot. And then I saw all this and I was like, oh my god, this is so nice and this must be love. Like, he's spoiling me. But it was only because he was financially stable enough to be able to do that. It wasn't love. You know, I think he loved me. He definitely loved me, I think. But it wasn't like, it was a controlling love. It wasn't, I'm going to buy you these nice things because I love you. It was like, I'm going to buy you these nice things so you keep quiet and be the good person I need you to be, kind of thing. At the beginning, he was never like that. Like, all my friends in Brighton were like, oh my god, he's such an angel. My dad, like when I was sleeping on the floor or whatever in the lounge, my dad was like, oh my god, he's an angel. Like, he would do the sweetest things for me. Like, I remember, but it's because maybe he could, but things like, I remember I couldn't afford this Topshop jacket, this green khaki jacket, and the jeans, like the Joni jeans. Couldn't afford them, but I was putting them behind, and I always used to do that at Topshop, like put clothes behind, so maybe one day I'll afford it. Like, if they put it back up the next day, then I just wasn't meant to get it. So I put this stuff behind. Like, he'd go in and get it for me and then be like, oh, there's something in the boot of the truck, like boot of the car for you, and I'd be like, oh, you're so sweet. And things like, I told him my favourite chocolate bar at the time, when I could eat normal chocolate, was the Crunch Bar, and you could only get it from like newsagents. He went to a wholesaler and bought me like 6 boxes, and it was outside my door, and he was like, I just wanted to surprise you, like, can I go on a second date with you? That was the first date. I was like, don't buy me flowers, I don't like them. So he went and got me those things. So at the beginning, I was like, I was blinded by how sweet he was to me. He had to go on pre-training, so he went away for like 2 weeks to Spain or something, and he was like, have my house because you're living at your dad's. He gave me his house. Like, we'd only known each other for like a couple of weeks, and he gave me his house to have, and he was like, he stocked up the bath, he stocked up the kitchen for me, like everything. And I was like, this guy is so nice. And coming from such a toxic relationship, I was like, he was so nice. And I don't have any bitterness towards him at all, because even though we had a different relationship towards the end, at the beginning he made me really happy. Like, he did make me happy. He was very kind and very sweet to me, and very generous, very soft-natured. But then when I moved in with him, it all changed. Like, the working thing, if we'd have an argument, I'd want to go for a walk around like the complex where he lived. He'd lock me in the house. Like, he got aggressive and violent, which was horrible. But then he'd like give me a pair of Louboutins and be like, here you go. And I'd be like, you've just been horrendously violent and aggressive, but you think that that's gonna make me happy. And that's when I started to realise that he saw love with materials, because if he'd do something wrong, he'd be like, well, I'll give you this, you know, kind of thing. And I was like, it just didn't work. It didn't work at all, because he just started to get worse and worse and worse, like controlling everything. When I was in London, the girls that I lived with at the time, my flatmates, no, I didn't live with them at the time, the girls I was moving in with, they would laugh at me and be like, you need to get on the tube. And I'd be like, he won't let me get on the tube. And they'd be like, you need to get on the tube, like, it's cheaper. I'd have to get, imagine this, a university student, I was getting a £22 taxi to uni every day and back, because he wanted me in a taxi.
Why wouldn't he let you get on the tube?
Because he was scared of me being on the tube. He was scared of me. You know what, I don't even know. Like, he never even said like, because it wasn't as if he looked down on the tube or anything like that. It was almost like I don't know. I can't even tell you, because he never even gave me like a proper reason, like don't get on the tube because there's gonna be strange men on there, or don't get on the tube because of this. Like, it was literally, I remember once I got on the tube because he knew, because my underground, the signal went. Oh my goodness, I had a barrage of calls of like, but I think it's because he'd grown up with just his mum, and I think maybe, and his mum and him was so close that he had that really tight relationship where he cared so much for her. So I think he just treated me as if like I was a baby to him, like he had to do, I don't know, everything. And we ended up breaking up, which at the time felt like the worst thing in the world, because I was like, I have nothing now. I have no job, I have no money of my own, I have no boyfriend, I have no companion or love. I was so independent, I was so dependent of him for everything, you know. So then I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? He paid for my flat in London. Like, everything was based around him. And that's not me saying that you need to be, I'm urging you to just always have your own thing. Even if you have like £3 to your name, always have your own thing, because it's important for your own self-esteem. I think I felt like I was really lost in that relationship, because I felt like I don't bring anything to the table. Like, if I bought his birthday presents, it was coming from his money, you know. Like, I didn't ever feel like I ever contributed anything. So I feel like that made me more driven. So my positive from him was that I was like, all right, okay, watch me now. I'm gonna make money for myself, and I'm gonna be independent, because I was so dependent of him.
So at what point were you at? And were you at uni at that point when you broke up?
Yes, so I was in first year, the end of my first year. So then I was already planning to live with the girls that were my friends at uni. So basically what happened was, because I couldn't afford to live in London throughout the summer months, I didn't need to be. I moved back to my dad's, which was, you know, difficult, because I hadn't lived at home for so long, and my dad was still with his ex-wife. So it was a difficult situation. However, I threw myself into work because I needed to. I knew that I didn't have that financial support now, so I needed to earn money, because basically with like a stage school, you get your £9,000 grant from the government, but then you also, it's 3,000 on top of that. So I needed to find that 3,000. So I needed to earn money this summer. So my parents were like, my mum and dad were like working in Hollister, because I knew I always could go back to Hollister because it was like a 0-hour contract, and they were really good. So my flatmates that I was moving in with were in a really different financial situation to me. They had parents that could support them, which is amazing and really lucky for them. But they ended up staying in London for the summer months, and that's when our relationship shifted. Like, my relationship with the girls shifted. If I like talk about my relationship with those girls, there was like 7 of us, but 5 of us were going to live together, so it's going to be me and 4 of the other girls. And my relationship with them at the very beginning was slightly strange, because I was in a relationship where my boyfriend, the footballer, he was really generous to everyone. So like, I would go to their sleepovers and I'd buy them new pajamas, because he would be like, buy them like cute little things. So I would go to like Victoria's Secret and buy everyone pajamas. And like, we were all uni students struggling with money. Like, people live off pot noodle, and there's me like bringing Ben and Jerry's, buying everyone dinner. Like, I look back now and think, God, someone should have told you not to. Some of them were really sweet, not the ones I lived with, but some of them were like, Imogen, like, why are you doing this? And it must have been really strange for them. They must have been like, is she trying to buy our friendship kind of thing, you know? But then when I moved back home to Brighton, I never saw them all summer, but we'd planned to go to Magaluf together, so we could have like time before we move in together. And I moved back home and I was working 3 jobs. So I was working at Nationwide. I got a job as a personal banking manager at Nationwide, told them I'd left uni, because, and this is me being honest, I had to lie because I needed to earn that money. So I lied and said I'd left uni and I wanted a full-time job. But little I knew I was only going to work there for 3 months, but it was the only thing that was going to give me good enough money to be able to, you know, I was earning good money there. I saved a lot of money from working this summer months. I also worked at Hollister when I could on the weekends, and then I also worked nights when I could to earn some money flyering on the seafront, like promoting. So Magaluf was coming up, but the girls were looking at flats in London, and they went to view one flat, and it was the one flat we ended up choosing. And this was when, apparently this was when they realised, you know, I don't know. So I couldn't get up to London because I was working 6 days a week. I had 1 day off, but I was knackered. And it was on a Sunday, and no flat viewings are on a Sunday. So I couldn't get up to London. And 4 of the 5 people could go and view the flat. So I couldn't go. And apparently that's when they all decided that I was going to have the smallest room. When I mean the smallest room, I mean like the smallest room. So the flat that we were living in was really expensive because it was in Angel, but we managed to change the lounge into a bedroom to make it cheaper, so it would make it, you know, a lot cheaper for us. So someone got the bedroom, which was massive, with its own balcony. Another girl got another massive double room. All of the 4 rooms were double rooms, massive. So I always said when we were in Magaluf, whoever gets the smallest room, by the way guys, when we pick out of a hat, should pay less, because you can't pay £1,000 a month for, or £950 a month for a box room that can only have a bed and a wardrobe and you can't move. You know, they could dance in their rooms. I couldn't even move. So then they were like, yeah, fine, like that person should. And they were like, we're going to do it really fairly. So then again, I'd moved back to Brighton and they were all in London, and they picked the names out of a hat. So there was one girl that also lived in Manchester, so she wasn't actually there, and she was the only girl I really actually liked. I mean, the other girls turned out to be really nasty, but she was the sweet one. She just got swept up with them, but she was actually really sweet, and she didn't know about any of this. So the 3 main girls, they actually didn't pick a name out of a hat and just pretended. So they were sending it in the WhatsApp group like, first room, this person, second room, this person, third room, and I knew. And my parents were like, my dad was like, you do know you're gonna get stitched up and have the smallest room. And I was like, no, like, they like me, it's gonna be fine. But the holiday in Magaluf was a bit of a shambles, so I did have a kind of vibe. And then I was like, okay, they must have just picked it out of a hat, Dad. And my dad was like, more cynical about it. My dad was like, no, they haven't picked that out of a hat, like, they've given you the smallest room. So then I messaged back in the group chat and I was like, oh, you know, I should definitely pay less, like we said in Magaluf. Even if you had the smallest room, like, you should pay less. They ended up giving me it £20 less a month. £20 less a month. So I was paying, I could have got a luxury place for what I was paying to live in this block of flats in an absolute dump in a room. Oh, honestly, I can't explain it to you. I was paying so much money and I felt like, oh my God. But then, one of the first days we were there, we connected the iPad, one of the girls' iPads, and it connected to the Wi-Fi, and they'd all gone out. And it was me and the really nice girl, and we were left back. And these messages start popping up as it's connected to the Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi guy was there and he was setting us up. And all these messages start popping up, you know what iPads do. So, and one of them said my name, so I was like, I'm sorry, and this is me being completely honest, I had to look at it. I had to look at the message, you know, she gave me her iPad to sort out the internet, like, I just had to. Oh my goodness. Even the mums were involved, like, the messages were like, haha, she thinks she got the smaller room out of a haha, literally slagging me off. And at that point, I was living with these girls in a contract for a year. I'd signed a contract. And I had to go to uni with them for the next 2 years. And I looked at the other girl, and she had no idea. So she actually felt really bad for me. She was happy with her room. She had a massive double room, built-in wardrobe, love and life. But she was like, that is so nasty. And she was actually really on my side. So then when they came back, I confronted them and was like, I can't, and I did shout. I was like, I can't believe you do that. The things they were saying, they were like, my mum thinks it's so funny as well, like blah, blah, slagging me off. I'd met them like a couple of weeks beforehand for like a little coffee or something, and they were like, she kept talking about this, like literally slagging me off, like bitching about me so badly. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you were my friends. Like, I actually thought they were my friends because, I don't know, like, whatever. But the thing is, I'm gonna be honest, I think I choose really bad friendship groups. I think that's on my own back. Like, I think I've always slotted in, because I'm loud and over the top and it can be seen as confident. I always attract that group of girls that could be seen as, if you were to put them in school, they'd be the intimidating girls, and the group that were like the popular, not the popular groups, but I felt like I fell into those instantly because of my personality. And actually, deep down, I'm really not that person. Like, my 3 best friends now, they're not extrovert, they're really chilled, they're really calm. I am the one that's extrovert in the friendship group, but the girl that I actually had from school that's my best friend, she's so shy and quiet and like sweet, and I feel like that's who I should have always just been friends with people that were the same person as me inside, not just who I project out to be. And I think a lot of people get that so wrong with me. Like, they think I'm really confident when actually I can fake confidence really easily. Like, I love acting. I can fake confidence till the cows come home. I've done it since I was a child. Like, my mum and dad used to say, I'd be like outside my dancing exam and I'd be like, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna do so badly, and my ballet teacher would say, you even scared me. Like, you even scared me, thinking, is she gonna really mess it up here? And then I'd go in there and be like, and I'd be ready. Like, I would just be able to put that on. And I think that that skill has helped me so much through life, but it's also hindered me because I think people get the wrong judgment of me, maybe. I feel like I've just talked so much.
No, so I'm wondering, so how did that relationship progress with the girls? So obviously you haven't really brought this up much, but you were like having troubles with your health, and I was watching the video, I think it was the story time about the girls, and you were saying that you had an incident where you had to go to hospital and then you came back, you were really ill, and they were having a party or something. Can you like explain that situation?
Yeah, so after that, our friendship, after the whole room thing, I didn't trust them or like them. And because I was quite, I will say, I did really stand and back my corner, and I did shout at them because I was like, that's because I never did when I was younger. Like, I feel like I have got a backbone now. Yeah, I do feel like I've got a backbone now because I feel like I'm fighting for the young me. Like, if someone does something, I will tell them about themselves. If I caught them doing something, I'll be like, I think that's so wrong. You know, you can walk over me for quite a while if you're my friend, and then if you do something really bad, then I'll be like, okay, it's done now. So our friendship was bad from that get-go, and there was a divide. Like, we'd go out clubbing together and like, yeah, we'd do certain things and whatever because I was living with them, but it was just not good at all. Like, I just knew they didn't like me. Like, it was evident. Like, they wouldn't wake me up in the mornings to go to uni. Like, we'd all walk together normally, but little things like that created a divide. And then when I started to get ill, I wasn't going into university. So I won't go into this story too much because it's so long, as per usual with everything with me. But I basically got really ill one time in ballet where I was sipping water and the water wouldn't go down. The water was sort of coming out instead of going down. So my swallowing reflex wasn't working, like it was blocked. So then I went to the doctors and hospital, and they were like, oh, you got a stomach ulcer. And I was like, fine, stomach ulcer, antibiotics for 2 weeks. It ended up that I didn't have a stomach ulcer, and I ended up having to be in hospital for months and months. So I think that again really affected my relationship with the girls because they had really different upbringings to me. They were a lot more, I don't know, we just had different upbringings where, and they were younger than me. They were a year younger than me because I'd started and deferred a year. So maybe they were just a bit more less aware of things and stuff. Like, I know if I'd seen someone that wasn't very well, I would have been a bit more empathetic, but they just weren't. And the one girl that was really empathetic with me, I felt like she couldn't really be. Like, she'd try and come into my room and watch Disney films with me because we both love Disney. But then the other girls would be so judgmental and hard with her, and she was going to uni with them and I was off uni. So it was like, I just felt bad for her segregating herself. So eventually we grew apart, you know. But yeah, because I couldn't go out clubbing with them, and they would go out and bring boys back and all these things that I wasn't doing because I wasn't very well. So the ambulance would get called a lot of times, and maybe that was really stressful for them. Like, I don't know what that was like for them, but the ambulance would get called. Like, no one would ever come with me, like be there for me. It was just a really lonely time because my friends were all back here, so I didn't have anyone, and my schedule at uni was intense, so I wasn't seeing my friends that much. I wouldn't come home for the weekends, so I was paying so much rent to live in London. I was like, you know, London life, and I had a job at the time, so it was just a really difficult time because I was so unwell, and I ended up having to stay in one hospital for like a couple of months. So I missed so much uni, and I remember my principal calling me or something and being like, oh, the girls have told me they're seeing you and all these things. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I've given them a bunch of flowers to give you. So then they had to come see me one day, and they came to see me one day and brought these flowers. And I was like, you're just lying. And then what was really affecting me was because obviously in hospital all I had was my phone. dubious internet, but still I could get on my phone. They were wearing my clothes on their Instagram. Like, I'm only in hospital, hun. I can see. They were taking like my Mulberry bags out for a little spin. Like, you know, they were sleeping in my bed with boys because other people would report back to me. They were having house parties. My mum had given me all these freezer meals for when I came out of hospital because they thought I could eat normal food still. My mum had put them all in the freezer. They were all gone. All my food had been eaten. Like, disrespectful stuff. Like, disrespectful stuff that you wouldn't do to someone. Like, I'd never do that to someone ever in my life. Like, I was paying for that room 900 and however much a month. And I was still paying for it, obviously, in hospital. And you were having sex with boys in my bed. I came back to dirty sheets because they just didn't respect anything. So then when I would come back from hospital, it would be like a couple of days before I'd go back in when I finally got discharged. And it was just not nice at all because, yeah, they'd have house parties. I remember they once had these boys over that I think they were sleeping with. And, like, the boys were getting involved. Like, I find it so weird, but the boys were getting involved. And, like, I had an inside lock on my door, not an outside lock, so I could lock on the inside. And the boys were taking the heels and, like, banging on, like, my door. And I had to, I was lucky enough to have a friend in London who I love so much, Amber. She's literally a dream. I still have such a close relationship with her now. And she actually was from Angel, and I met her through Hollister and stuff like that. And she would come to hospital to see me every single day. And she lived literally like a 12-minute walk from me, like a 4-minute taxi drive. So I would call her at 4 o'clock in the morning and be like, Ams, they're literally banging on my door. And Amber was like, you need to stand up for yourself. But I did not have anything left in me to stand up for myself. And Amber at the time was like, Amber's mum, because she lived at home, was like, come on, like, stand up for yourself, they're going to respect you. And I was like, I just can't, I just couldn't, I just didn't have it in me. And I remember them banging on the door with the heels being like, it's the witch up, wake the witch up, calling me a witch. Like, I was ill. I was like on morphine, I was so unwell. You know, I didn't have anything in me to fight these people. And I remember coming out when the taxi was outside and being like, do you know what? If that is the person that you're sleeping with, to the girls, I said, if that is the boy that you're sleeping with, that you want to be with, and they're disrespecting a girl like that, do you have any respect for them? I was like, do you actually respect these boys? Because they're disrespecting another woman. Like, you should back women. Like, as a woman, even if you don't like me, you should never let a man scare me in my room like that, be disrespectful, shout at me, call me names, running up and down, like, shouting about me up and down the hallway. Like, you know, I remember looking at them being like, clearly you have no respect for yourselves if you're going to go out with boys like that. Because if a boy ever did that to another girl in front of me, I'd be like, dare you? How dare you? Get out of my flat now, you know? But anyway, and then I was lucky enough to have a friend that lived in London who was actually Dua Lipa, which is crazy. So she actually became like my best friend in London at one point, and she lived right by my grandma near Kilburn. So she ended up being like, sack your friends off, pay the rent and live with me. So I ended up living with her for a while. I met her through a boy. So I started seeing her roommate, her flatmate. And then I ended up stop seeing him and being best friends with her. So it was awkward for him. But yeah, she actually was like a saviour to me throughout everything. We ended up drifting apart just because of lifestyles and stuff like that. But I have a lot of love for that girl in my heart because she literally got me through that. Like, the rest of my time. She didn't get me through uni though, because I never went to uni. Because I would just be with her. She'd be like, don't go to uni today. And I just didn't because I hated it. I hated it because I was so bloated 24/7 because of my stomach. I was ill 24/7. I had acid coming up 24/7. I couldn't dance. I'd lost everything confidence-wise. I would walk to university and have a panic attack and walk straight back out. Like, I physically couldn't be at that place. Like, my panic attacks were so heightened then because of that. So I just was just at a really low point. So then I ended up moving back home for summer, which was a good thing because my relationship with my dad was better then and my relationship with my mum was better then. And during that time I ended up finding a girl who I'd met through like a modelling job, whatever. I'm not a model, but I just did this job thing. It was just paid for whatever. And she was like, oh, my mum lives in Angel. And I was like, really? Because I'm looking for a flat. And she was like, yeah, come live with us. And I was like, what road do you live on? She was like, this road behind my university. And it was £600 a month, all included. Like, I lived in a house with a garden, all my bills included, and a double room. And I was like, it was like my prayers were answered. And yeah, so then I ended up moving in with like a host family. So like the mum became like a second mum to me. I still love that woman so much. Like, we speak a lot of the time. Like, she literally, imagine having someone in your house who obviously wasn't very well. Like, the hospital would come, like, the hospital wouldn't come. The hospital, can you imagine the whole hospital coming? The ambulance came and she would come with me. You know, she had her job, she had her kids, and she'd send her daughter with me because her daughter was like similar age to me, and they just helped me. So yeah, I think that was sort of the end of my journey with uni, thank the Lord. Like, when I graduated from uni, I was the happiest person in the world, because I associated it with such negative people, such negative feelings. You know, I associated it with my stomach condition, so it was like, getting out of there, I felt like I could start afresh, kind of thing.
Did your stomach condition get better when you were away from the girls? Is it correct that it gets worse when you're under more stress?
Yeah, so my stomach condition is so I have gastroparesis, which means that my stomach's paralysed, and I have gastroesophageal reflux disease. I'm currently being tested for other things with my colon. So yeah, so I have like severe gastric failure, severe sort of, yeah. So what unfortunately happens, yeah, is if you get stressed, it can be really bad. And it was really bad with the girls, and it was really bad in my 3rd year. And then, yeah, when I left uni was when I really found myself. Like, hospital was the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me. Like, it was the scariest time, and it was just not a nice thing to have to be in hospital for so many months and just, you know, have all these tests and tubes and all these things. But I am so grateful to hospital, because I'm so grateful for my stomach condition. I'm so grateful for my stomach condition. You know, I wouldn't... I mean, okay, in an ideal world, I would love to have a regular working stomach, but without my stomach condition, I probably wouldn't have met my husband, because of my life journey, and, you know, forever grateful. And because my husband actually is hard of hearing, I feel like we understand each other so much more because we have something. So like, he has 50% loss and he wears hearing aids. So for me, having my stomach condition and him having his hearing, we just, that's it. Like, I feel like we're stronger, and just, I feel like we're soulmates because of that, like, because of everything else, but just because of our personalities, I feel like we're made for each other. And my stomach condition taught me so many things about myself. Like I spoke to you earlier about being so insecure. I'm insecure now, but no way near what I was when I was a child. Like I said, I would never go anywhere on my own. Now I'd go happily to dinner on my own. Like, in London, I would go to Nando's. I'd go anywhere on my own I wanted. I'd go to the cinema on my own. And it was like, I remember telling my older brother, because my older brother's so independent and I really was so dependent. And I remember telling my older brother, and he was like, you've got it. Like, you've cracked it. You can finally be happy on your own. And now your life will be so much better, because anyone that comes into your life is a bonus, because you always know that you can be in your own company. Like, when I was younger, I was always wanted to be centre of attention. My older brother was so shy and so introvert, and I was so extrovert. And then being in hospital taught me to not be insecure, because I had tubes. I looked horrendous. I was swollen one minute, I was gaunt the next. Like, I just looked horrendous for myself. I felt horrendous. You know, I was ill constantly. And then I remember being like, there was this really good looking doctor that came once. And I remember being like, I am pretty. Like, I don't care if I have all these tubes or however I feel. And I remember being like, it's not about this. It's about you and your aura and what you put out there. And I feel like hospital taught me to be happy on my own, to just be more comfortable in my own company, and also to be less insecure. Because once your health goes, you really are like, God, I've only got my health. Like, if my health gives up on me, it doesn't matter what I look like, who I am, whatever, I've got nothing. And I'm just going to say this, like, completely, if no one believes in it, it's fine. And even if it's not real, for me, believing it and focusing on that, and focusing on the law of attraction and all these things, has honestly changed my mindset so much. Like, I was in such a low place. You know, I've obviously been having counselling, and I've got a life coach, and I've been doing other things to help me. But I just feel like it's changed my outlook, because I kept thinking such negative thoughts and dark thoughts. And then I was sitting there thinking, no, you've had these negative and dark thoughts before, and what did you do before? And I would be like, I'd spiral and get in a rut, and then I was attracting more trolls and more negative energy. And I was thinking, do you know what? The more you talk about negativity, the more you attract it. Like, I did a video where I cried about how low I was, and I told people how depressed I was and all these things. And I don't regret ever doing any of my story times, but I feel like you do open yourself up to a lot of more hate because you're being so open. I am such an open person. I feel like doing story times is because I'm so open. I want to share everything. I'm an oversharer. But then also everyone wants to find fault in you or pick apart everything you say, and you know, it's really hard. I think story times is a really difficult thing to do, but I did that video, got hate from it, but then also got a lot of love, and then I was like, this is just making me feel worse talking about it. So like now on my channel, I haven't really spoken about my anxiety or anything like that, because I feel like if I talk about it, it makes me feel worse. And I feel like for the moment, if this is the way I'm coping with it and this is the way it's helping me, you know, if a negative thought comes into my brain, I try and counteract it with a positive. And I'm like, okay, you're going to think positive, because negativity attracts negativity and it breeds more and it breeds more. So if I think positive, then it'll breed more positivity. So, you know, I have down days, but my anxiety as a whole is getting so much better because I have flipped a switch on my mindset, and it's not easy. I feel like a lot of people watching this will be like, I've had mental health problems for years and I can't seem to switch, and I'm making it sound like it just goes overnight. It doesn't. You know, it's a constant battle that I feel like you battle with forever. You know, any health thing, I think, especially with mental health, it's a battle against yourself 24/7. You know, you want to try and fight this. But I feel like, I think people thought I had anxiety just because of lockdown, or I just suddenly started having panic attacks. I've been anxious, like I said, since I was a child.
So when did you start YouTube? How old were you?
Started it when I was working at a nightclub in London. I just quit. I was a manager at Hollister in Westfield, and I was working at a club on the door because it was such good money. It was easy. It was, I could audition for acting jobs in the day if I wanted to, and you know, etc. And then I got rejected from this film. I got the film part and then I got dropped on my birthday, and I was like, do you know what? I want to do something with a camera because I'm really comfortable in front of a camera. I just did my first video, and then I hit 100,000 subscribers in 6 months, and I said to myself, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm gonna move home. I quit the club I was working in. I gave my notice to my landlady, and my dad was like, move home. And my dad wasn't with his wife at the time, so it was just me and my dad, and it was just surreal to be able to be like, I can't believe I'd hit it that quickly.
And then there were so many positives to starting YouTube, but then was there always hate the whole time, or has that been something that started during lockdown?
Yeah, so crazily enough, I do get a bit of hate. Like, I do get a bit of hate. I've had hate before. Like, I think one thing that I've definitely learned from YouTube is that I am too open and I do overshare. But that's me, I guess, and it's really hard to change certain things that are just your character traits. And I don't want to change myself, but I've shared a lot of story times, which obviously is controversial in a way, because there's always going to be people that will be like, oh, she's lying, or things like that, because they kind of want to find anything they can to make you look like a bad person, kind of thing. So doing story times, I think I've opened myself up to that, but I never had the level of hate that I've had over lockdown. Lockdown was like another level. Like, I've had hate, which I don't mind because I can counteract it with love, because I'm like, I've got 100 nice comments, 10 horrible. I can do that. See you later. Focus on the good. But lockdown was like another level. Like, people making up the most obscene lies about me, making me just feel so low. And you know, there's only so much that you can take as a person. There's only so much that someone can keep telling you before you start to believe it. You know, like, you start questioning it, like, what? Have I done this? Have I done this? You know, and I think unfortunately people become so invested, which is amazing. I feel so grateful that people actually watch my story times and become invested. But I think they become so invested that they then want to find fault and pick at you. And, you know, it's sad, because I think whatever you do, there's always going to be people that don't like you, so that's fine. But I have never had that mentality of ever wanting to make anyone feel bad about themselves, and I am not perfect. I have openly admitted how many mistakes I make. I document them. I talk about my story times. I talk about mistakes I made in relationships, mistakes I made in friendships. But I think people think I'm playing this victim when actually I'm just being honest about what happened. You know, there's loads of times where I've been not very nice. I'm not going to do a story time about them, because why would I? You know, I'm sharing story times about failed friendships because so many girls have gone through failed friendships. I'm sharing story times about bullying because so many people get bullied. I'm sharing story times about ex-boyfriends because so many people have had toxic, bad relationships, you know. And that's not me saying that I'm perfect. I'd never sit there and go, oh my God, like, this is me and I got hurt all the time and everyone else is horrible. No, like, you know, I've made mistakes in my past. I openly admit about them, you know. There's not anyone in this world that's perfect, but you learn from them. And I feel grateful to making mistakes, because I feel like it makes you a stronger person and a nicer person. Because hopefully if you look back and reflect, you can go, that wasn't right, Imogen. No one needs to go through that, you know, so maybe reflect on that. And I feel like I don't want to ever take back the story times or like delete them or anything like that, because I'm like, it shows growth in me. Like, you know, people say, oh, you've changed, and I'm like, but that's a good thing. You should always be changing. You should be growing as a person. And like, I'm actually glad that, you know, I've changed. I look back and people will condemn you for speaking about something or doing this, and it's like, you're just never going to win. That's one thing I've realised now. Like, you just are never going to win. As long as you yourself know your intentions are right, then you can't let anyone else affect that. People can affect your emotions and your feelings, but as long as your intentions for what you did were in the right place at the right time, then okay, people can judge you for whatever they want to judge you for.
I think a lot of the time the online trolls, they think that, they always say like, oh, you knew what was coming, like you signed up for this, but at the end of the day, like, you're still a human and it is bullying. I think they think it's different because you're behind a screen, like you don't know them. I guess it's not as bad when you don't know the person, but still it is bullying. There needs to be more, it needs to be talked more as if it's actually bullying instead of troll. It is bullying.
They're real people. They're bullying. Like, you know, a troll is a person that's bullying you. Exactly. And it's like, it is a form of abuse. It's an online abuse. Like, it's not, you know, it is something which people can feel, you know, we've looked at it. We've looked at people in the public eye who have been very low and they've been trolled and bullied and abused by people day in, day out. You know, it's not a physical abuse because they can't physically punch you through a screen, but they're punching your feelings and your heart and your, you know, insecurities and everything you worry about as a person. And I think you're right. Like, a lot of people don't want to talk about it because, like I realised, the minute you do talk about it, you get more from it in a way.
So you found that by doing those videos, more people were hating on you? Oh,
yeah,
really?
because people are like, oh, pity you, poor you signed up for it and all that and blah blah. And I can actually deal with that. Not that we should have to, but I can deal with that. It's when they're personally trying to, you know, outwardly destroy what you have and who you are, kind of thing. Like, I would never, it's like walking into their job and screaming at them that you think they're an ugly cow. Like, you'd be chucked out by security. Like, you couldn't do that. But with our job, it seems like it's accepted, and I don't think it should be accepted, because people are like, oh, you have to own it. Like, exactly, you knew what you were signing up for. Well, no, I didn't. Because when you first start YouTube, you do it because you love it. You don't start and think, I'm going to make loads of subscribers. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't actually think you're going to. You just think you're going to do videos and, like, it's going to be sweet. So when you get subscribers and then you get hate, you're like, oh, right, this actually happens. And I think that, I don't know if it's ever going to change. I don't know if there's ever going to be a thing where people can actually get condemned for their actions, because you can't. Because it's very hard to trace someone through a screen. It's very hard to track them through an IP address and all these things. And that's the one thing about the internet. People can say whatever they want about you. And the one thing I struggle with is, I have a young audience, also an older audience, but the young audience, I also feel like it must be horrible for them if they see hate about the person they like, because they're young and impressionable and naive. I was when I was younger, you know, whatever. They can read that and they can then get tainted against you because they believe that's true. Because these people, these trolls, can be very believable. Now, I don't want to have to justify anything now. Like, you know, I got accused of stealing from charity. Like, I legit raised money by selling old merch hoodies that I just never sold. I never put them on the website. So I wanted to raise money for my charity because I was like, oh, you know, I'm going through this time at the moment. I've spoken about mental health. I should raise money. So I was like, I'm just going to put these merch hoodies on for sale for £10 cheaper than they were. So they were like £15. So then I raised money but didn't put proof on Instagram. So I've never done that. Like, I send money from my AdSense loads and I me and Spencer donate behind closed doors for charity all the time, and I've never had to prove it, which I understood that people were like, can you show us? Fair enough. But I was then being, she's lying, she's stolen from charity, she kept the money for herself. And it was like, honestly, then mums were messaging me like, can you please just let me know that you haven't stolen money from charity, because my daughter like is really worrying about it. You know, my daughter bought one of those hoodies. And I'm like, where have you read this? Like, what are you reading that is actually getting in your head like that? Like, anyone can message me and say, can you just show me the proof? So I did. I put it on my Instagram story, and I basically cut off the date and time because it had my private email address. And they were like, you didn't show the date and time. And I was like, I've sent £2,000 to charity, over £2,000 to charity, and you're now having a go at me about that. It should be a positive.
But I feel like if you did post it, then you'd still, like, you can never win. So even if you did post, people would be like, oh, you're just doing it for show. It's like how you can never know when, like, you're always going to upset people. That's why it's so frustrating, because you just feel so lost. It's like, if I do this, I'll get hate, but then if I do this, I'll get hate. And it's like a constant battle between, either way I'm going to get hate, so what do you want me to do?
That's why I don't want to justify anything anymore, because you're right, you can't win. And it's like, I know my intentions, you know, and even someone pointed out, like, if Imogen wanted the money, she could have just sold the merch hoodies for herself. Like, I could have just put the merch hoodies online. And it was like, it's sad that people can rally the troops and kind of create this bullying where they're all in this big force field against you, and you feel like, yeah, you feel like you're backed into a corner. You literally feel like, oh my God, you know I haven't done anything wrong. I've done something right. I've done something good. Not something good. They helped. They were the people that paid for the charity hoodies. You know, I bought the hoodies and then they paid for them. So they raised the money. But I feel like a positive thing became such a negative, and that really upset me. But so that's why I've just decided, if someone wants to question me and my morals, I'm not going to allow it anymore, because the minute you start questioning yourself, you have to do it again and again and again. And then they're like, okay, about this, and then you're like, oh God, I've got to tell them again. You don't. You have every right to be who you want to be on your channel. It's your channel. Like, you shouldn't have to be targeted or anything like that. And I just wish that there was a way that people had to have their identity proved. Not proved, but like, you know, you have to actually sign up with your actual, you can't just keep making accounts. Because people can make so many. Yeah, because then
if you block them, they make a new one. That shouldn't be
a thing
allowed, because that's how they get away with it for so long. Because then you block that account, and then there's another one, and then
the more you block them, the more they come back, and it's like, yeah. But I feel like,
I think they love it when you block them, especially because it's like, I think there's always something going on, but it doesn't excuse it. But you always think, what is going on that's caused them? Because I can never imagine to message someone the things that you've been saying, and it's like, what actually you think, okay, I'm gonna message this person, but I think sometimes they just think that YouTubers are like robots and they don't have feelings, and that we're not actual people, and they see other people doing it, they're like, oh, let's just join in. Like, it's easier to just join in, but you got to take a step back and think, like, this is a real person. Like, I would never say this to their face, and if you would, then you're an awful person. But I don't know, I like what you were saying about you need to actually have all your details and sign in, so you can't just constantly make new accounts.
I agree with you. Like, I was receiving a large amount of death threats, and obviously, you know, you have to get things involved and whatever, etc, etc, etc. But I looked at those people and thought, I don't hate them. I actually don't hate them. I really don't hate them. I don't hate anyone at all. I dislike some people, but I don't hate anyone. And I definitely don't dislike these people, because I think you're right. Like, they must be in such a dark place or going through something. You don't know if they're being abused at home. You don't know if they're being bullied at school. You don't know if they're in an unhappy marriage. You don't know how old they are, young they are, what they're going through. And I think that that's the best way for me to look at it. Like, I look at it like, okay, this isn't me. This is them not liking something about me, but their anger inside of them is feeding that, and they're taking it out on me because I'm an easy target here. You know, so I think that helps me, and that's helped me, because I think now I don't want to have any feelings of bad feelings towards anyone, because you don't know what path someone else is going through. Like, I've looked at so many people in the past and they've gone through things, and I've been that judgmental person when I was younger, like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that, I would never do that. But then you get older and you're like, but maybe I would. Maybe I would have done that if I was in her position. Like, you really don't know, like, at all. And I think the older you get, the less judgmental you become, because you realise that life is different for everyone, and you can't judge someone else's path because you're not in it. You're not that person.
And people have different ways of dealing with stuff. So maybe someone's going through something and they maybe haven't got counselling, they haven't even reached out to anyone, and they don't know how to channel all these negative things they're going through. But still, it is hard, because it's like, I feel so bad, like what if they are going through something? But also, you have to be kind of selfish and think, I don't deserve that. Like, even if they're going through shit, why should I? But then what can you do? I don't know.
That's the thing, it feels like I would be at a stump if I wanted to try and make a difference, because I actually don't know where I would start, because how would I be able to do anything without proof of, not proof of who these people are, but like, what do you do? Like, how can you stop that? I don't think you actually can, unless it became illegal and there was a law that was brought in. But I think there's unfortunately too many loopholes, and the more someone gets blocked from something, let's say a law did come in, people still do things that are illegal, unfortunately. So you just don't know. I don't think there's ever going to be, unfortunately at the moment, something which changes it.
I was watching one of your videos and you were saying how after, I loved what you said, it was like after every low you kind of feel comforted because you know there's going to be a high coming. So to kind of end on a positive note, do you feel like you're in a better place now? Like, what are you looking forward to? Have you got like plans for the year?
Massively. I mean, that's given me goosebumps, because I feel like, oh God, I feel all emotional. But I just feel like, looking back, even like a couple of weeks ago, I was one of the lowest I've felt in such a long time. And it took me back to so many different things. Like, being honest, in lockdown, I started thinking all about my parents breaking up and the divorce and all the things that I went through. And I was like, that's what a low moment can do to you. And then, since then, I look now and think, oh wow, you have to pat yourself on the back for small wins, like small victories. And my small victory at the moment is improving my mental health, and I don't feel like I'm fully back to a place where I want to be yet, but I feel so happy just being able to film YouTube videos and get back into the swing of things and be the positive person that I am. And I do feel like I'm in such a different headspace. I can brink on the edge of like a low, and then I'm like, come on. Like, I do really think our minds are so powerful, and I really have learned that since lockdown. And I think my positive from all of this is that I think I'm actually going to be better off, happy and mentally health-wise, than I ever was because of lockdown. Like, I genuinely believe I never would have worked on myself the way I'm working on myself now if I hadn't had that low. Like, I had counselling when I was younger but didn't have it for a long time. Therapy is helping me so much, and I'm appreciating such small things, like just having a roof over my head, being in love, you know, the food I eat every night. Everything I have that I never thanked anyone for, I'm grateful for every day. And genuinely, if I didn't have this low during lockdown, I wouldn't have had that high. And I feel like life is just going to be amazing for everyone. I just feel really positive about it. I feel like lockdown and corona and everything that everyone's had to go through during lockdown has been so difficult for so many different people, for everyone. And I think that now I'm like, we're going to get through this. Like, as a nation, like as people, we are going to get through this. And I feel like I'm so positive for the future. Like, me and Spencer really want a house. That's like the main thing I've wanted that since I was like forever. You know, when I was like 16, I wanted my own thing. And so that's what we're working on. You know, we're trying to get our house. We have to put it out there in the universe that we've already got a house. We've got it. That's it. We've seen it. We've got it, you know.
Manifest it.
Yeah, exactly. Manifesting our house. So yeah, I feel like that's what we're looking forward to. Like, you know, settling in and, you know, starting a family one day. And I just feel like I just want to keep going where I'm going and keep doing what I'm doing and just progressing and growing as a person and growing in life. That's how I feel right now. And I feel really good about that. Like, I feel confident that everything I want to achieve, I can. You know what I mean? Which is crazy, because even 6 months ago, when I wasn't in a low place, I had so much self-doubt, all the time self-doubt. And, you know, I still have it now sometimes when your YouTube video doesn't get very good views or something like that. You still feel like, but now I'm like, not looking at the views. I'm grateful that anyone's even watched it. So just be grateful for that. So I'm trying to like completely change my mindset, and it's taken me 27 years to get here. So like, I am 27, like it's not like it's happened an overnight thing, you know. But I'm grateful to the people who don't like me in a way, because they've put me through a bit of darkness, and now I feel like they've given me strength and light. So I'm like, that's my high. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And this has been so interesting. I feel like we need to wrap it up. I could literally talk to you for like hours. I'm actually excited to re-edit this because I want to hear it all again. And I think this is going to help so many people. We've touched on so many different topics, from bullying to relationships, even like online bullying. So I think this is going to be really, really helpful, and I'm so excited to see everyone's responses to this. I just want to say thank you again for you coming on this, because it takes a lot to share.
Oh, me too. I'm so excited. No, I'm so grateful that you have this. Like, honestly, I'm so grateful that on your channel you're so open about so many things that you've gone through, and I think it's so nice to talk to someone else that's so empowering and strong and like positive and kind. Like, it's hard to find people like that now, so I'm so grateful that you actually had me on this. And it's really good that I made the whole way through and didn't cry, because I normally cry every...
I was gonna say, I was like, wow, this is really impressive.
I had a couple of moments where the tears were like behind the eyes and I was like, fight, fight. So thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
So good, thank you so much. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to check out Imogen and let me know who you want to see me interview next. And yeah, thank you so much for this. Bye!
Bye!
So I've just ended the call with Imogen. I just want to say that was so interesting, and I feel like I learned so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video too. And if you were going through anything similar to what Imogen was talking about, I hope this gave you some comfort and made you feel like you are not alone, because you definitely are not. And yeah, like I always say, if you guys want me to interview someone, comment down below who you want me to talk to, and I will see what I can do. Hopefully they want to come on. If not, that's a bit awkward. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on post notifications by clicking the bell. And also don't forget to check out all of my social medias and all of Imogen's. Everything, like I always say, will be down below in the description box. And yeah, for now, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!